again, going back to age ranges, right, and what they may be used to or what they may have been introduced to, and it's kind of inside their belief system. There's a lot of weird stuff as it relates to cardiovascular exercise. And there's still a lot of people, and we talk to them quite frequently, where that is their main focus. That is what they've used to, quote unquote, get fit in the past, which really means it's what I used to lose weight, right? It's what I used to offset the caloric balance equation. And that worked for them, at that time. And now they're recognizing it's not working for them anymore. Again, go back to those considerations. Well, you may have a little less muscle mass on you, right? Hormones have changed a little bit. Like, it's not going to impact you the same way. We haven't even gotten into nutrition, and I don't want to dig deep into that. We beat that up on the show all the time, but those needs change, right? And if you've started to eat less, so you're eating less calories, and the macro balances have been offset, and we haven't maintained certain things, like that cardiovascular component can start to work against you, over time. Yes, strong heart, strong lungs, strong vascular system, extremely important, and that's why I promote it so much, particularly as you get older in your workouts, and it needs to be included. And it's not just walking. It's not just hiking. You need to stress that system, right? And what does that mean? Just like your muscles, right? It's the same. It's the same thing. But there are some appropriate and inappropriate ways to do that. And there's also, I think you have a limited return on investment over time, right? So you need to, when I say you need to stress it, you need to occasionally really push that. And that doesn't mean pushing it for an hour, right? It means pushing it for a few minutes, right? And when I'm saying that, a few minutes, so like cumulatively in your 1 hour session. So it doesn't all have to be done at one time. It can be interspersed, right? And don't be afraid of that, right? It could be like 8 to 10 minutes, kind of at the end, where we are pushing limits here. Same way we'd be pushing limits on your chest press, your dumbbell chest press or something like that. We need to get close to or near failure in order to elicit a certain response. The difference between the cardio, response and the resistance training response is the cardiovascular response when you're stressing that system is more catabolic, right? It doesn't send a muscle building signal, and the stress hormones don't impact the system the same way, right? Versus the resistance training, which is more of an anabolic or muscle signaling, signal that says, hey, build here, we need to be stronger. This does the opposite of that. It's about reserving calories. It's about reserving fuels. It's about shuttling things to where they need to be to get through that, but it's not stimulating that response. So sometimes we have to break people out of that belief system. That can be really tough. Yeah.
I have to say, so I've had this conversation 4 times, and this is a Thursday. I've had it at least 4 times this week, and it's with women who are in their 50s and older, because they're still of the same mindset. As hard, as it is to have these conversations with them and to get them to try to think differently. They are so emotionally married to, got to do my cardio. I got to get on my bike. I got to ride my bike for 30 to 50 minutes before I do my strength training.
And it has nothing to do with fitness or health.
No.
It's all about losing weight, right? And so, again, going back to the muscle building versus the breaking down response, the anabolic versus catabolic, like this is the tough one, because you're talking to them and it is deeply ingrained. It's like religion, right? It's like you're trying to change their mind about something that they have a deep belief in, because maybe it worked for them before. That's just what's been pounded into them when they're at a young age, and it's kind of hard coded now. So again, I say that to say about cardio, not to villainize it, which is the opposite end of that spectrum, where don't do cardio, it's going to wreck your gains, that kind of thing. Or if you just lift weights hard enough, it's enough. It isn't, man. No. It isn't. Like, for some goals, maybe it is, right? Depending on what your event is or whatever it is that you're doing. What's the ratio of cardiovascular fitness to strength and power that you need. But here's the deal. Excuse me. When you get in here, particularly if you're coming back into this or starting it after a break or starting it for the first time, the more you build that capacity, that cardiovascular capacity, the faster you're going to recover from the work that you did. So, and the more gains, quote unquote, you could get from the work that you do put in. And you are getting a health benefit by, again, stressing the system. It needs to be appropriate, right? And there are ways to do that, but it doesn't need to be 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour. And that's usually the thing. Like, I got to do my 30 minutes of cardio. So they go through a strenuous workout and they're like, I'm going to go get on the stair stepper or the stair mill for 30 minutes. Why? Because I want to lose weight.
Or I've only burned this many calories on my watch.
Right? Yeah. So again, that's where I would look at that as like that's activity you could be doing outside the gym. In the amount of calories that you burn in a half an hour on that step mill are probably not going to be that much different than the calories that you would burn going through like a brisk walk for the same amount of time. You would be surprised like at that difference there.
Yeah, you know, we were, to go back to the way beginning, we were talking about like a lot of like the psychological components of fitness and the emotional components of fitness, and you know, like going outside, that is something that a lot of people don't do enough too. So when you can do, especially if it's just, you know, movement or low level cardio, that doesn't need to be a very controlled, like what are your watts on the assault bike or whatever, getting outside and getting sunlight and seeing nature and getting fresh air, like that has a lot of other impacts, which can help with your accountability or your consistency in your whole program, right? And you know, to go back, like I think the biggest thing that if I could really just get in a lot of people's heads with exercise in general is the goal of exercise is what is the adaptation I'm getting to this stimulus.
Right.
Like that should always be your mindset of what is the adaptation. The adaptation isn't I'm burning calories. That's not the adaptation. Like what am I stimulating in my cardiovascular system that has benefit? What am I stimulating in my, you know, these components that can help with my recovery? Or when you're doing a lot of conditioning cardio, like you start to feel more vibrant, you start to feel more vitality and more energy, things like that. And then how does that tie into what is my adaptation response from my strength training, from my muscle building, from my mobility, from my movement? All these things are in this matrix of what response is this going to give to my body? Not how can I torture my body? How can I burn more calories?
How can I punish myself?
How can I punish myself? So when we sometimes I guess rag on cardio, it's because of the mindset that people go about it of I'm trying to burn calories. We love cardio and there's lots of benefits and it's not going to kill your gains and it's not going to be detrimental as long as you go into with the mindset of what is an adaptive response, and that's going to guide whatever protocols you're using for that cardio programming, for that conditioning program that you're on, and how can that fit into your programming with still in this age range, you know, being rooted in the strength training is that main key. So